Welcome to the King and Chapman Show. I am Brent Chapman, and with me is the great one, the original Fab One, Jimmy King. Jimmy, what's up, man?
What's up, my man? B Chap in the house. Good to see you, my brother.
Raise the roof? Can we still say that? Is
Raise the
that
roof,
cool anymore?
push it down. The
Okay,
LeBron
all right, I
James,
got
hold
it.
it down.
Jimmy, today is a great day for two reasons. One, it's NFL Draft Day. This is like my
Woo!
favorite day of the year. And
Yeah.
it's our first show. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
We will always,
Love.
Jimmy, we will always remember this. Next year, when the draft comes around, it's going to be our anniversary, bro.
True indeed. A lot of great things are happening today. I'm glad it's our first show, but it's a lot of lives that's going to change today. A lot of young players that will become instant leaders of their families and millionaires and
Whew. That is
great opportunities
exciting.
for them.
And we can jump right into it and talk about somebody who's going to become pretty wealthy in a few hours. And that is Caleb Williams, quarterback of USC. Jimmy, do you think that Caleb Williams is the best player in the NFL draft?
I think Caleb Williams definitely has a say in if he's the best player or not. I think if he's drafted first, um, there's no debate. He's clearly the best player, but until then, we can debate it. And there are some other players that, particularly Jaden out of LSU, Jaden Daniels. I think he also has a claim to be the first pick in the draft as well. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best player because I think it's all about fit. I think it's more about needs and what teams want early in the draft.
Yeah, I think you're right about that because I think that especially at that number one pick, you got to remember these guys are managing their businesses and they're managing fan expectations. So they might think the best player is Joel Alt, right? Offensive tackle at Notre Dame. There is
Hmm.
0% chance they're picking that guy tonight, number one
Hmm.
overall. They'll move back, they'll move around, they'll do something different and find somebody else that's willing to take a Caleb Williams or a Jaden Daniels overall, number one. Here's my thing, though, Jimmy. I don't think Caleb Williams is the best player in the draft, and I'll tell you why. He won the Heisman 2 years ago, not this year, but 2 years ago. And then this season, it wasn't that great. USC started 6-0 and then finished the season 1-5. 1-5. He finished his senior year Heisman Trophy winner, wants to be the number one pick in the draft, finished 1-5.
Come
I
on,
mean,
B. You gotta understand too, which I know you do. It's a team sport, and a lot of times coaches have time to scheme and plan to catch up to you. And I think that was part of it. And also, you got to look at the style of offense. In Oklahoma, they average 50 points a game, close to 50 points a game or over 50 points a game. And USC, wasn't that offensively of a juggernaut. So his production is going to fall off a little bit. And that's where the same type of expectations could fall off transitioning from the NCAA football world into the NFL. It's all about fit.
Jimmy, he threw his Heisman year for 4,500 yards and 42 touchdowns. This year, he threw for 3,300 yards and 30 touchdowns. That's like a 30% drop off. Look, dude, it, the NFL is the best players in the world. And he was struggling with, UCLA and Stanford and I don't know, University of California and probably Joe Mama University in the middle of Iowa that they play as a patty cake game in
See,
the
to your
fall.
point though, B, but to your point though, like at that level, you may have other players that you can scheme off of to give help or special attention to him in the quarterback position. And therefore, it makes it harder for him to perform. And you got other guys who aren't carrying their brick or their bag. So it's not all on him. And if his production fell out 30%, how much of that is on him? Is it 15%? Is it 10%? Because a lot of that, I'm sure, can be spread around the team.
Yeah, that's right. But he's the quarterback of the team. He's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and he's wants to be the number one pick in the draft, right? So Jimmy says Caleb Williams
Caleb
is the
definitely
best
has a
player in the
chance.
draft. Brent says he is not. We will have to wait a few years, Jimmy. Hopefully, we're like on ESPN at that point and we can debate who was right. We can show these old clips of me telling you that I was right and you were wrong. I like that. I'm
Well,
always
pretty
good
much
for.
you'll see that probably Caleb and Jaden, barring injury, God bless, is that they're more even. And if they have opportunities through their schemes in which they play, will elevate one over the other.
That is a
So
great segue,
mark that.
Jimmy. That's a great segue, Jimmy, into our next topic, which is first round quarterbacks. Do you think there will be 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round? Let me read them to you. Caleb Williams of USC, who we talked about, and Jaden Daniels of LSU. Bo Nix at Oregon. Uh, Drake May at North Carolina. Michael Penix Jr. of the University of Washington, who I think is a very dynamic athlete, has a great arm, and could potentially be the best of all of them. And then finally, Jimmy, from your alma mater, the University of Michigan, the Maize and Blue, the Hail to the Victors, the champions of the NCAA, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, show my guy some love. And it's the same for him as well. I hope he finds a home that fits perfect for his style of play. I don't expect a player like him to come right in and shake up the NFL and kind of turn it on his ear. I expect him to, learn the pro style a little bit more, get used to the pro speed and pro defenses. And yeah, you're right. I think he'll be a great player 2-3 years down the road.
And I think the rumors are that the Vikings really like him. And I think you made an excellent point earlier on, which is this is really about fit and system, right? And what I really love about these 6 quarterbacks is they're not all the same. They're all different. If you like a Bo Nix, you probably aren't that high on a Michael Penix Jr. and vice
Mhm,
versa, right?
mhm.
So there's a lot of diversity here within the skill sets and what the quarterbacks bring to the table. I think that's really exciting. I do think JJ McCarthy will land with Minnesota. It makes kind of sense to me. I think he will have to probably play his rookie year, but he'll learn. And I do agree with you. I think by year 2 or year 3, he'll be a top starter in the league. I'm
I,
really excited. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no. Well, I was going to say that um, he has an advantage of being under Jim Harbaugh, playing a pro style offense, having time to learn under a former quarterback that played in the NFL as well, and then seeing similar NFL style defenses as well in college. But it's going to be some time for him to make that transition.
Well, Jim Harbaugh said that he had the best quarterback pro day he's ever seen. Now, I think that's a little helping out his bro, right?
Hey,
But it's still
hey,
it's
you gotta give him a little nudge, a little push, and some love.
I'm okay with it. So, Jimmy, what do you say? You say 6 quarterbacks in the first round?
I say under. I say
You
under. I
say
say I
under.
say four, maybe five. Four, maybe
I
five.
say 6 for sure. I think Bo Nix will be last, and I think he'll go in the last 10 picks. And I think either somebody like a Denver will take him or somebody will jump up from the second round and grab him at the end of the first round of the draft. But this is exactly what happened to Lamar Jackson a few years ago. I say 6 go in the first round, which transitions us into the next topic, which is about wide receivers. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. the best wide receiver in the draft? Let me kick this one off, Jimmy, by saying the following. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the son of one of the greatest receivers of all time, Marvin Harrison, I guess, senior, right? Not when he was playing, but Marvin Harrison, Indianapolis Colts,
No doubt.
there with Peyton Manning all those years.
Yes.
Manning and Harrison broke like basically every possible record they could as a quarterback receiver duo. They were fantastic. And Jimmy, I really want your professional insight on this. But I think that when you are the son of a professional athlete, I think you are raised from the beginning of what to expect and how to conduct yourself and the work ethic. And I think that sets you apart. So that's 2 questions. Do you agree with that statement that because his dad was such a high performing pro, do you think that plays into this? And also, do you think he's the best receiver in the draft?
I do think it to answer your first part of your question, I do think it benefits him, or he's gotten some benefits for his father being an all pro. Growing up under him, learning just the little intricacies and learning the mindset, learning you know uh, eating habits, training habits, sleeping habits, and things on another level that we possibly can't think about, that give him an advantage to being a great football player. So I mean, we when I watch him play, he looks like a world class athlete that's out there uh, doing his thing. They, and again, going back to scheming, right? They tried to scheme to to lower his production, but it didn't matter what they did to him. He always found a way to um, make an impact on the game.
I think that's a
And
really
to answer
important.
your second question,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the best quarter or receiver in the league. There's a guy down at LSU,
I
Neighbors,
know.
who has who also can make a claim himself. That's pretty tough. And he also got a guy, I can't think of his name, is escaping me right now, but out in Washington.
Rome Odunze.
Yes,
Those are
yes,
the
those
guys I
guys
was.
those are pretty good guys. So, and it's subjective. It's really is subjective when you want to say who's the best. Um, just like Caleb and Jaden, it's hard to say who's the best. Again, it's about team needs, and timing. So wherever these guys go, in their mind, I'm sure they think or feel like they're the best. But like you said, time will tell. We'll see when their name gets called this evening.
Here's what I think. Malik Neighbors, by many draft pundits, is a better receiver than Marvin Harrison Jr. And Malik Neighbors went to LSU, and they, like I saw a quote earlier. His skills with the ball in his hands are just different. His acceleration is just different. He led the nation with 89 catches and 1,569 yards and 14 touchdowns. I mean, he just tore the roof off the ball. Rome Odunze, who you mentioned, is a fantastic human being. They just he can pretty much do anything on the field. But here is my argument for Marvin Harrison Jr. And I did not have this opinion 4 minutes ago. Malik Neighbors was catching passes from who? Jaden Daniels.
That's right.
Rome Odunze was catching passes from
a
who?
guy who just transferred.
Michael Penix Jr. Yes. No, you're right. Marvin Harrison Jr. was catching passes from who? A guy who transferred, Kyle McCord. You don't even know who is Kyle McCord. He had 67 catches for 1,211 yards, 14 touchdowns, and almost 20 yards per catch from Kyle McCord. So
That's a that's a great argument. I can't argue that. I can't argue that down. That I think you won that one.
so
That makes sense. That makes sense.
now
But
I will say this, and this actually goes into our next topic. So I think first I want to introduce, we'll have him on camera in future shows, but we have a production engineer behind the scenes, Nate, who's doing a lot of this for us. So you'll hear us,
Nate
Jimmy and I talk.
Dogg,
Yeah, Nate Dogg. You'll hear us talk to Nate during the show. So but Nate, hit that, move that over to trade. So I'm gonna bring this up. I think that Rome Odunze would be fantastic catching passes from my Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. And I think that if we're talking about trades, that the Bills could surprise and put a package together to get up to number 9 with the Bears, who might want to trade back and get some. They only have 4 picks. The Bears only have 4 picks in the whole draft. They have 1 and 9. So they could trade 9, slide back, get a bunch of picks from the Bills. Bills can scoot up and get Rome Odunze. I also think if that doesn't happen, the Bills could trade for a T. Higgins or a Brandon Ayuk or a Justin Jefferson and get an established receiver as well. But I think you'll see the Bills, their GM has been the GM for the last 6 drafts, and he has traded 4 times in the first round in 6 years. 4. So expect a trade from
definitely
the
he
Bills.
is aggressive. Yeah, I
Who do
assume that
you
he'll be
like?
aggressive, and they definitely need some receivers to help.
That's right.
That receiving core. They lost some over the past couple of years, and I think they thought that, or this past year, and I think they are hoping that they can replace that talent. But
They need to. They're hurting.
it's it's a crapshoot. You just don't know. That's why it makes sense to trade for a veteran
I
receiver
would go get a T. Higgins or a Justin
or
Jefferson.
or a Jefferson. I definitely would get Higgins or definitely a Jefferson. Um, but Jefferson would definitely be high on my list. I think
Yeah, he's
he's
good.
very as much accolades as he get. He's still underrated in my opinion.
Let
A
me
lot
ask
of
you this.
people don't think he's one of the best receivers in the league, which is crazy to me.
He is great, but these teams get crazy with these guys and then they don't want to pay them. So let me ask you this, Jimmy. This goes back to your guy, Jim Harbaugh, just won you a championship. I see the Chargers at 5 making some trades, and I'll tell you why. And then I'm interested on they lost a lot of pieces and they need to rebuild. And I think Jim Harbaugh coming in there is going to build the team in his image. They don't need a quarterback. There's a lot of first round quarterbacks at 5. You can probably find somebody that would trade up to get Drake May or to get Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr. Do you agree with me? Do you think that's an opportunity? There's Drake May right there. Do you think that's an opportunity do you see the Chargers and Harbaugh maybe trading out and getting more picks to build that team up?
Yeah, I would think, good head coaches, what they do is to put a stamp on the team that they are coaching or making a change into. So they're going to find their players, bring in their players, vet their players, draft their players, and make the guys who are hardball guys or guys who will uphold the integrity within the system that they know that they could count on. So that's what I mean by being drafted for specific fits. you know there may be a better player out there, but San Diego may draft a player that fits their system and what they're looking to do to move forward, to get them over that hump, to go deeper to the playoffs and win a Super Bowl.
By the way, Jimmy, it is no longer the San Diego Chargers. It
I
is
mean, I'm sorry.
Los
Los
Angeles
Angeles Chargers.
Chargers.
My
Don't
mind,
worry,
I
Jimmy.
still say San Diego. I've been saying San
Don't
Diego
worry, Jimmy.
all
I will
these
call them
years.
San Diego. I will call Washington the Redskins. I will get it all wrong.
Exactly.
You have nothing to worry about. I just have to call you out because I will do it, and I expect you to call me out.
No, thank you for that because I do it all the time. But what I was saying is that's because it's so beautiful down there, and I always think of San Diego.
I
My
know.
former coach Steve Fisher lives out there. Brian Dutcher, who is now the head coach of San Diego State out there.
That's
That's why
awesome.
my mind is out there.
Well,
That's
and
why I
by
say
the
San Diego.
way, I grew up with them being the San Diego Chargers, so that's not going to ever come out of my mind. So, Jimmy, next topic, and I think this one is very unique, and I want your opinion as a former professional athlete yourself. So, everyone understands at the NFL draft, they invite players to come and be there live, and they can walk
Mhm,
on the stage and accept the jersey of the team and hold it up. And they do this in the NBA and they do this in the NFL as well. This
mhm,
year, they invited 13 players. We talked about a lot of them: Janie Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Caleb Williams, Drake May. A bunch of those guys have been invited to the draft. So, from my perspective, as a player, if I was invited, I would go because that's a pretty cool experience. That's like I've been playing this since third grade or fourth grade, and I worked all the way, and I played in college, and I excelled at the top level. And now I get to celebrate this moment with my family. I get to go to the city. The NFL trouts me around and sends me to all these things, and I get first class, and I get to be in the green room. I would go. Some people choose not to go. um, my question is, if you don't get drafted in the first round and you're there and you got to sit there and they got you on TV with your girlfriend, who's usually fairly attractive, they got you with your girlfriend there and they're on TV and you don't get drafted, do you come back the second night? Do you come back and do that again? Or do you just say that was fun and go home? What are your thoughts on that, Jimmy? On just being invited and what do you do if you don't get drafted?
I think that's a again that's a personal preference, but for me personally, I think I'm a one and done. If I'm gonna get the experience that first day, first night, if I'm not drafted, I'm not coming back. You're gonna have to call me at the crib or call me, on vacation with my girl and my family, and
Jimmy,
give me the news there because
tell us,
after that first
Jimmy,
night, I'm
tell
not
us,
going through that. I'm not going to subjugate myself to that again.
yeah, I tend to agree with you. Jimmy, tell us about your draft day experience. I bet that's interesting for everyone listening. You were taken in the second round by the Raptors, right?
Yep, by Toronto Raptors, six pick, second round, 35th overall. That night it was a wonderful night. It was a night that my dreams of playing in the NBA, of hoping to play in the NBA, became a reality. So I spent it with my family,
Awesome.
friends. We were in a hotel in Detroit. Got a nice little hotel room, and just spent it there. Watched the draft, and with which each name being called, the anxiety level raises. But when you do hear your name, it's just like wow, it's a dream come true. It really is. It's a
Pretty
dream come
surreal.
true.
I can't even imagine. It's got to be pretty surreal to hear your
It
name called on television in the NBA draft. That's freaking cool.
It is. It is. And again, it's kind of like an out of body experience, and you got people cheering around you, and it's almost kind of like that uh proverbial like movie moment where it's like time or people are standing still, but you can still hear the music in the background is kind of like muffled. Yeah, that's kind of like the scene that I had that night. It was like, oh wow, this is a reality. And
And you get
then
the call. Do you get the call also? Did Isaiah Thomas call you?
yeah, they call my age. They're on the phone. With my agent let my agent know, and
That's awesome.
because he knew when I was or he had an idea uh that I was going to be picked by Toronto, but yeah, it was magical.
I like how you positioned from he knew to he thought I might be picked by
Right.
Toronto.
Well, because even though they may call you, they still make so imagine this. Imagine you're sitting in the room and around your family, and your agent gets the call, and they're like, okay, they're thinking about taking you 35th. And then the 35th pick come and they don't take you. And that's because like they literally make this some of them make decisions up to the minute,
To the
and
minute.
they're still looking at two, three other guys. And
Yeah.
for whatever
Somebody
reason,
slides or whatever reason. Yeah.
whatever reason is, it may be, I don't know, like how you looked the night before at the draft and you weren't picked. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole bunch of factors that go into it.
Well, Jimmy, appreciate you sharing that experience. And just so that everyone listening knows, we're going to tap into that and a lot in this show because that's one of the cool parts of this is Jimmy's experience as a as a top collegiate player, obviously being part of the Fab Five, is playing in the pros. We get to
All
hear
the
those
people,
experience about what it's like to be drafted. There's very, very few
all the game.
people that get that. So we appreciate you sharing that, Jimmy, which is a great transition because we're going from football to basketball. And
Hey,
now we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. So the Miami Heat are the 8th seed. And last night they beat the number 1 seed, best team in the league, the Boston Celtics. Can Miami repeat last year's magical run to the finals where they beat the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals to get there? What do you think, Jay? Is this just like a random sort of, oh, they got one, or is this maybe they're cooking
there's
again,
one
heating
thing.
up?
There's one thing that I learned that I'm not going to do. I'm not going to count out an Eric Spoelstra team led
Yeah.
by Pat Riley.
All
I'm not
right.
going to do it. They're grimy. They work hard. Like they're kind of like Izzo, like Tom Izzo in college basketball. Like Michigan State doesn't matter where they start at the beginning of the year, if they're number
That's right.
one or if they're 100th. At the end of the year, you know that Michigan State team is going to make the NCAA tournament and they're going to make a deep run.
That's right.
Same thing with Miami. Miami may squeeze into the playoffs or they may be a 2 or 3 seed. But one thing that we know, they're going to play hard. They're not going to give up. They're not going to roll over and lay down. And so, yeah, I think they have a chance. Will they repeat and beat the Seas again this year? I don't know. That's a tall order. I think the Celtics are definitely more focused. And I know they definitely don't want to repeat getting kicked out early by AFC. So
Yeah,
I think
that.
it's a tall order, tall task. I don't see it happening, but we done seen some stranger things before.
Yeah, I think that, there's a couple different things last year. One, Miami was also the 8th seed, but they didn't get this Celtics until the conference championship.
Hmm.
So, they were rolling, right? I
Hmm.
think it's really hard to come out the gate like this and beat the number
Hmm.
1 seed. No, they did it last year.
Hmm.
I think it was Milwaukee, right?
It's rare. Yes,
They
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, they beat the 1 seed last year, so we'll see. I mean, I think Jimmy Butler, when he gets on fire, can be dynamic and can lead, put a whole team on his back. I think to that Kawhi Leonard run a few years ago, right? That's kind of what happened
Absolutely.
last year with Jimmy Butler. So that'll be exciting to watch.
Hmm.
Moving on to our next topic, and I'm gonna butcher this. That's why I wrote SGA in there, but Shy Gilgis Alexander. This guy, I met this guy during summer league. We were down in summer league this past year. I met him
Yep.
at the Thunder. Chet Holmgren was playing in the summer league game. Get this, Chet Holmgren was playing in a summer league game. SGA was there cheering him on. Now they were the Jimmy. I watch basketball, but I don't pay as much attention to it as you do. I didn't
Mhm.
realize they were the number 1 seed in the West, and
Yes.
they are just
Yes.
crushing. They just
They've been under the radar all year. If you can imagine a number 1 seed being under the radar all year, that's them. and
all
uh,
Jimmy.
and they
All
got a great wealth of talent that has a
yes,
balance. They got
that's right.
inside like Chet, they got outside with SGA, they got great role players that play their role, and their defense is a little underrated. They're getting better. They don't have the best defense, but their defense is getting better.
Jimmy,
And that's what you
all
want to see throughout the year. Like they just steadily inclining in their growth.
Jimmy, you make a great point, and I'm going to understate this, underscore this. All 124 points that they scored in their last game, all 124 points, were scored by players 25 years or younger.
Younger.
That is the
Is
first
that
time in NBA history.
in
They
that,
are an incredibly youthful team. I watch LA versus Dallas. We're in Dallas, so I'm watching that, and I see James Harden and Russell Westbrook and Kawhi Leonard and some other guy that's it's like the 2009 All-Star game.
Mhm.
And then I turn and watch Oklahoma City Thunder, and I don't know any of those guys.
You're correct. They're the babies.
Yeah, and I'm sitting, I don't know what I know SGA because I saw him at Summer League and Chet Holmgren from Summer League, and that's it. I don't know who these guys are, and they're just beating the pants off of everyone.
And
So
that's a
kudos.
lesson in the sport itself, that it's a team sport. Like you can have all stars, and I think the past like 10, 15 years, they've been talking like the big three, not Ice Cube's league, shout out to Cube, but just the big three within the NBA roster. I don't, I don't see that really. Like you said, Jimmy Butler last year. A couple years ago, we seen Kawhi do it. So the super team idea or the three superstar idea team doesn't necessarily work. And you got OKC who's out here proving that. Like they just look like a good,
Look at Denver.
well-oiled team.
The Nuggets last year, I couldn't name anyone on that team. Jamal Murray. I mean, dude, they're just shooting the lights out. And it's
you
like
got Jokic out there.
you got Jokic who's
point
like
center, looking like a 7'2" Magic Johnson.
Yeah, it's insane. So moving along to our last topic of our first show, Jimmy, is you can't end a show, especially your first show, without talking about the great one, LeBron the King. LeBron,
LBJ.
Chapman show. We're going to talk about the guy who stole your nickname. LeBron
That's right.
He
I
stole
am the king.
Yeah, Jimmy is the king. So we'll talk about the thou who shall not be called. What is that from? Like LeBron James and the Lakers. So guys, this is crazy. Talking about
we'll call him Prince.
Yeah, Prince. That's right. Prince played, dude. This is crazy, Jimmy. They were up by 20 plus points. And at the end of the game, speaking of Jamal Murray, this dude hit a 16-foot jumper at the buzzer to beat the Lakers, come back from 20 points down, and win 101-99. Is this it for the Lakers? Are they done? Can they recover from that nail in the coffin in game 2 and a 2-0 lead or 2-0 deficit? What do you think?
Absolutely, they can recover.
Oh,
they got
come
the best.
on.
They got one of the
That's
best players
not
in
what
the
you're
world.
supposed to say.
They got one of the best players in the world.
Oh,
they got AD down there holding it down.
I got Jokic, bro.
And they don't talk enough about my man Darvin Ham because it's hard. Well, it's not hard, but it's not easy. Always managing alpha males like that. So to get them to to work together and to consistently work together is a tough thing. That's why you see the Lakers some nights look like world beaters, and then the next night they look like they don't they shouldn't even be in the playoffs. So to answer your question, I don't know, because you got some of the greatest players that's ever played that's on this team, and they've won. So you can't count them out. But
you can't say I don't know, Jimmy. You got to go hard with your take. You got to go hard with your take, which is that the Lakers can win. I think they're done. I think they're an 8 seed. They're old. They're tired. LeBron is I think they're done. I think the Nuggets are going to maybe they get it to 5 games. Maybe I say it ends in 5.
That would
But
be
I think the Nuggets
respectable.
have got this.
That'd be
So,
respectable.
Jimmy, this was a great first show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope people
Have fun,
watching
my
enjoyed
brother.
it. We're going to have a lot of fun. I think at the end of every show, Jimmy, we should just have a quick rundown. Any parting thoughts? For me, I'll go first, and then you can wrap it up with your parting thoughts. I think I'm excited about the draft tonight. As I said, I'm a huge Bills fan. I'm excited to see what they can do to help Josh Allen next year, give him somebody to throw to. I'm going to be up all night till midnight or whatever it is, watching and hoping that when we come on the air next, Jimmy, I got myself a shiny new receiver to play with. That's what I want for Draft Miss. What do you got, Jimmy?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I wish that I hope that that works out for you, my brother. What I hope to see from a wonderful night tonight is the young men who are seeing their realities become dreams. I love to see that moment where they share with their parents or their significant others or the people who supported them growing up when they get a chance to walk up and shake the commissioner's hand. That's what I look for. And also, I love to see how fresh they are, what they looking like.
Oh yeah. Do
You
you know
know, that's what
how
we
good?
going. Yeah, we gotta grade their fits.
Do you
We gotta
know?
grade
Yeah,
their
we can
fits.
do that on our next show. Do you know how good I would look, Jimmy, if I got to walk up there? I would be just.
Absolutely, my brother.
I'd have the
Hey,
big. I'd have the
hey,
big
G,
thing
just
with the
like you stepped
king.
right out of the GQ mag and just like
That's
froze on
right.
them.
I would have the big gold king crown on the front,
That's
right?
what I'm
Like
talking
that.
about.
That's what I would be doing. I'd be repping that. Well, Jimmy, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. This has been the King and Chapman Show. We will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Peace.